Hey everybody, it's me, Kim Offord, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different than what we've been talking about. We've been, focusing on my life as a realtor, but today we're going to talk about the fun stuff, and that is, well, real estate is fun too, but that's neither here nor there. But we're going to talk about my life as an art collector. So here we go. It asks the question, how did you get started collecting art? Well, I had an aunt, my aunt Yvonne. She always had beautiful art throughout her house, and I always used to go and admire all of her art, and that was really kind of my introduction to collecting. But I've always been into arts all of my life. I played the piano. I'm not the greatest at all. I can read music. But I took piano lessons, as a kid, and the arts were always something that, really attracted me. But fast forward a little bit, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and the Chicago Alumni chapter has an event called Gallery DST. They've been having this event for some years now, and I would go to the event, and basically what it was that it was a art showing, art gallery sale. We would, turn our house into our sorority house into a gallery and invite local artists to come to showcase their pieces at this event. Well, it started out as an event where it's just local artists, and some of the artists weren't even known. At this event, there was always education about art, why you should collect, how you should go about starting your collection, and valuing your collection. Well, I strictly was just in it because there were pieces that just touched me, pieces that, I was just like, wow, I love this piece. I'm gonna get this. So, as it turns out, many of those artists went on to were very notable artists, and so it was a good way to start your collection and see the value in your collection. Anyway, so I started collecting. I started buying art, maybe one piece every year. I started learning the differences between prints, originals, lithographs, signed copies, how to, make sure you have your certificates of authenticity when you buy your art, cataloging your art, if you don't want to be a serious art collector and use it as an investment piece. So I started collecting. How do you pick your pieces? How do you know what art to pick? And it's simple. You just buy what you like. Buy the art that you like. I tend to like pieces of notable people, abstract pieces of notable people, creative interpretations of people, famous women who I look up to particularly, and famous notable artists, notable other artists. I love the creative energy, behind who that person was. So, I have pieces like, Dorothy Dandridge, Josephine Baker, Lena Horne, Nina Simone. I have a beautiful Ella Fitzgerald. I have Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis, but I also have some other stuff. I have Prince. Cannot forget Prince. I have a lot of the beauty in purchasing art and art collecting, especially if you're buying it from a gallery, or if you're buying from the artists themselves, there is in many times the ability to do a layaway, where you pick a piece, you put some money down on it, and then you pay on it as you go, and then it's delivered to you after you pay. I've commissioned artists before to do pieces for me, and in doing that, you start off with probably a little small, a deposit, a certain percentage of a deposit, And, as you go along, you make payments, but we'll do as a collector, I try to set a budget of, and a limit of how much I'm going to spend for art in any given year, or if I go out to an art showing or something like that, and I have in my mind, okay, Kim, you're not going to spend any more than, and then you fill in the blank. So whereas some people may have a budget for, I don't know, whatever entertains them, concerts, going out to restaurants, movies, travel, I also have a budget for art. And I try to set that very carefully, and I try to follow it as much as I can. Because there are times where there are going to be pieces that just jump out, grab you, and you're going to say, I gotta have that, and that's just the beauty of art. You just never know when something's going to jump out, grab you, and say, I want to go home. I want to go home with you, Kim. Maybe not, but that's what I like to tell myself. So anyway, what have I been attracted to lately? I am really loving having just color everywhere. I'm usually the type of person where if I'm wearing clothes, it's going to be a dark color, right? Boom, obviously. It's going to be a dark color. In the spring and in the summer, I'm not that person that's going to have that bold color, that orange on, or whatever. Although I do realize that, sometimes you need those colors to kind of brighten up everything. But in my house, when you walk in, it's like a pop of color everywhere. And I love it. I love it. I wasn't into that at first, but now I love it because it just makes me feel, it gives me a warm feeling. And so, in addition to looking at all the different pieces and remembering, when I bought them, and what I felt when I bought them, it just warms me up, warms my spirit, keeps me going, and most of all, it inspires me. I like to surround myself with really great people. I really do. Just in real life, I like to surround myself with people that are doing things that I aspire to do. That's the same with my art. I want to be surrounded by art that's going to uplift me, inspire me, remind me of how great I am, so that's that. I bought a piece. I traveled to New Orleans. I wanted to just get away. I needed to take some time to get away. So I traveled to New Orleans and I bought a piece. My goal when I went to New Orleans, because I love that culture, was to hit the art galleries. There are a ton of art galleries there in the French Quarter. So that was my goal, to hit all the art galleries. So I hit Stella Jones Art Gallery. And just so that you know, I do collect art. I collect art from African-American artists, African-American and African influenced artists, and African artists. And I wanted to hit Stella Jones Art Gallery. It's a Black-owned gallery in the New Orleans area. Became recommended, and I did, and I found a piece. I was hoping that when I went, that I wouldn't find anything. Even though that's crazy. You go to find something, but you're hoping you don't find anything. And of course, I did. A piece just hit me as soon as I walked in the door, and I had to have it. I had to have it. The piece that I bought, it really grabbed me when I walked into the gallery for a couple of reasons. And it's a Pullman Porter series from artist Jerry Lynn. And Jerry Lynn, and I didn't know this, I didn't know anything about Jerry Lynn until I bought the piece. But Jerry Lynn and his identical twin brother, Terry Lynn, started out painting from Memphis, Tennessee, started out painting under the name Twin, and they simultaneously painted together. Phenomenal. But this piece is just by Jerry Lynn. And again, it just grabbed me as soon as I walked in. And I'll tell the story of why it grabbed me. It may not be why he painted it, but it's how I interpret it, what he put on that canvas. And that's the beauty of art. You know, it's up to the interpreter of how you interpret the piece that you have. And so you'll see the piece in a second, but one thing, I'm a history buff. I love history, and I love Black history. And Chicago is the site for the Pullman Porter community. It's a historical landmark in the Chicago area. It's in the Pullman area of Chicago, just a little bit south of me. And if you're familiar with the Pullman Porters, those were the workers who worked on the trains. You know, before we were on the planes, we were on the trains. Before there were flight attendants, there were Pullman Porters. And many of them were African American. And, you know, they worked those rails that went down to the deep south and came back up here to the city. They worked them, you know, in conditions, you know, that, you know, they were serving other people, obviously, not of the same color, but they make good livings off of being Pullman Porters. It's blue collar workers. Many of these men, you know, supported their families with these jobs that were considered to be wonderful jobs. But as story has it, everyone knows the story of Emmett Till and what the tragedy of, you know, what happened to Emmett Till in Mississippi. The part of the story that I don't think a lot of people know is that those officers of the law, I'll call them that, people who were upstanding citizens of the law, never intended for eyes to set on Emmett Till and what had happened to him and how he was brutally, you know, murdered. They never intended that. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they had even started the burial process before his mother, Mamie Till, could get down there to get his body. What I understand is that it was the Pullman Porters who made sure that body got on that train and came and was delivered back here to Chicago to Mamie Till. And it was because of the Pullman Porters, with the help of the Pullman Porters, that America for the first time had to face the brutal reality of what racism was doing in the Deep South by having to actually stare at the body of Emmett Till. And that was really because of, honestly, a great contribution of the Pullman Porters, who made sure that that body got from Mississippi to Chicago and to that mother. So that's how that piece hit me. On the certificate of authenticity, the piece talks about, there's a quote on the certificate that, you know, talks about how every boy's dream in that time was to be a Pullman Porter. And so you'll see without further ado, I'm gonna stop talking. I'll show you the piece. Getting that piece and opening it for the first time it's adrenaline. Gives me that, like, ooh, something new. So this is the piece by Jerry Lynn, and as you can see, it is an original. I am partial to originals. I love all original art pieces. I used to do the prints, and you know, but I just like originals. That's just me. I like the originals. And I'll do another video that talks about, you know, the difference between the prints, originals, lithographs, signed, limited editions, limited copies. I'll do another video on all of that. But this is the piece, and as you can see here, it is signed by the artist. And on the back of the piece, you'll see here, he signed it again. It's called Bluebird Express, and it's an acrylic 40 by 30 by Jerry Lynn, and copyright, he did it in 2022. And you can see here that it has, the sticker of where I got it. And this is everything that I need really for when I start to catalog, when I add this one to the catalog for my art. So yeah, this is the new piece. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think I'm gonna have this one framed. And that's a decision that you have to make, whether or not sometimes pieces don't come framed, and so you have to decide whether or not you want to go through the expense of having it framed. So that's it. This is my art piece, and wanted to just share this experience of opening up this art piece today. Just got it today. And yeah, any questions, definitely, feel free to ask me, but I'm loving collecting art. So I'll have more. All right. Bye. Say bye.